What are you guys talking about? How many software devs do you know go to move to San Francisco and then are out like fucking partying or surfing every other fucking day? What do you mean? Most of you people live miserable fucking lives. Fucking 25% of you millennial fucks are on antidepressants or SSRIs or some shit. Like, what, are you guys out here acting like you're living your best life? Like you're happy and fulfilled, and you're not all like on the verge of breaking down into midlife crises because you realize that like the dream of like going to college and getting some soulless fucking corporate job and then moving to San Francisco and living in some tiny fucking corner of the world for your entire life like isn't making you happy. Like, we're gonna pretend that these people that all moved to these massive cities are having like the most fun that they ever could have had any other place in their world? Like, come on, dude. Everything that I thought I knew has been challenged so much over the past couple of years. Here's some random shit. I'm curious because Melina pointed this out, okay? I'm curious for my European bros. So we hear a lot about unaffordability of education and all that shit, which are definitely problems. Here's something that I don't know if this is true. In the United States, our average like state schools are like massive. And apparently that's not very normal in Europe. Like, now, I'm going by literally Melina and one other person who's told me this, so maybe that's not true. But like, here's an example, okay? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here, all right? What's massive? Let me give you an example. So I went to college at a place called the University of Nebraska at Omaha. None of you have ever heard about this school before. It's in the state of Nebraska, and it's not in the capital city, okay? It's UNO. This is like the gym of like my old college, okay? I think it's called the Hyper Building. This is our gym. This is like our pool this is from my state school, for the UNO. And this isn't like super uncommon. It's not called the Hyper Building anymore? Yeah, this isn't that uncommon in the United States. State schools have like unbelievable infrastructure. Here's like University of Nebraska, Omaha library. Here's our library. This is our library for my school, for my state school that none of you have ever heard of before. And Melina pointed this out, and she was like, because there's like an itty bitty fucking building over here in Huntington Beach. And she's like, wait, what the fuck? Why is this so huge? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is like a small, like random shitter building. And Melina was telling me like, well, in Sweden, at the very least, like, there are these massive things. This is the library, the Chris Library, whatever, of our school. She's like, you would never find this outside of like a massive major institution. So I'm curious, like in the rest of Europe, is it true that like most of your schools are like relatively small compared to stuff like this, or for sure compared to that? So when I see stuff like this, well, now it makes me wonder when Europeans are like, all of our schools are fucking affordable and shit. And it's like, yeah, that's really good. But now I'm wondering, like, well, hold on, mate. Are your schools like our elementary schools? Like, I sincerely wonder. I'm not sure. Show the Elkhorn football arena. Does Elkhorn even have a school over there? I don't even fucking know. Wait, is that actually a thing? Elkhorn football field, high school football field? Elkhorn high school football field. Oh. Jesus, in Grand Island. This city is going to be like population fucking 50,000. Elkhorn. No, wait. Grand Island population. But Grand Island is far from Elkhorn, isn't it? It's like 50,000. That's state funded? Yeah, this is a public school. This is all like state funded. Every single high school in America has a feel like that. Yeah, I don't want to use my high school as an example because it was a private school. But wait, what about like West Side High School football? These are okay, by the way, these are high schools, or gymnasium, I guess, as you would call them in Sweden. But this is our high school football field. This is publicly funded. This is our public high school football field. Yeah, see, okay, fuck. So now you guys, now I really wonder. Now I really wonder, like, what the fuck? Well, wait, what do European schools look like? Maybe that money should go into actual education. Well, on our top tier public schools, like the education is really, really, really good. Somebody can correct me. I don't know if there are any Omaha bros in here. So whenever I was in like a private school, all of our like standardized test scores, what was it? The ITBS, Iowa Test of Basic Skills, and like our ACTs and our SATs, all of that shit.
Your opinion on the "we're not a democracy, we're a republic" take?
We're a democratic republic. I don't know what these words mean. My understanding is democracy means that the people vote on shit. Republic means you have representatives that vote in favor of you. We vote on our representatives. Doesn't that make us a democratic republic? Isn't that what that means? Republic is a form of government in which the country is considered a public matter, not a private primary. Okay, maybe that's not even. I don't know. Republic means president. My understanding is that the Democratic Republic means that we have elected officials that vote in place of us, and then Democrat, whatever. Sorry. Okay, what were we talking about? Fuck, I totally. Comparing stadiums and gyms does not make sense. University sports isn't that much of a thing here. Well, yeah. So like even Destiny. Someone tell Destiny that Westside is like the richest school in Omaha, though. He needs to pull up like Benson or one of the mid. First of all, hey, okay, calm down. I'm from Omaha. I know that Westside is one of the richest schools. That's the district that I moved Nathan into. Okay. But like, I'm showing, first of all, this is the city of Omaha, okay? It's not like Omaha is a city of fucking millionaires. Well, except Warren Buffett lives there for some fucking reason because he lives in Regency. I don't know why. But like generally, Omaha is not like the richest city in the world. But I'm just saying that like this is like from a high tier like public school in Omaha, this is like what we have. Here is a gymnasium. I went to small city in Sweden. Oh my God, dude. Why is it that in Sweden, why do you guys have so many fucking Chernobyl looking buildings? In downtown, your area looks a lot more exciting, but it feels like once you get away from the city center, you guys have a lot of like copy-pasted fucking Ukrainian apartment complexes, and I don't know why. It is depressing and brutalist as fuck. I don't understand. Would it be even viable to raise all of our schools to the high tier level? I think that might be incredibly expensive. Yeah, it might be. I wonder sometimes, I don't know, dude. I just don't know anything about America. It's just so fucking mind-blowing to me. I don't understand. I don't know anything about everything. It's just so confusing for everything. Nice. Another thing that I've heard, and I think we've read this too, is that in order for the schooling systems in a lot of these European countries where education is guaranteed, so in the United States, we always want to emulate. Here's what sucks. And dude, and it all feels so like, now I feel like I'm not giving solutions to everything. Is that like, it feels like we have this problem where we're like, hey, the class structure in the US is fucked. Like, well, what can we do to fix this? Like, okay, well, this is a waste of time. We can't focus on like money, okay? We need to focus on like getting people good jobs, because like getting good jobs is like a way to like improve your society, your structure in society, like, or your position in society. Like, okay, well, how are you gonna get good jobs? Okay, hold on. It's not actually about the jobs at all. We actually need is like really good education, and it's like this is actually what will like get us like better jobs and like elevate people. And it's like, okay, well, if you throw people in like really good schools or whatever, that fixing it. Well, no, fuck, wait. Well, that's not everything that's gonna help. Like, because like being in a really good school isn't enough. Like you need like good, not housing actually. I should say like household. Like you need like a family that's educated and supports you and can like do all this shit or whatever too. It's like not like, I don't know like where the fixing any of these things like happens, because it seems like everything gets more and more and more and more fundamental. I tell like, I don't know what the fucking root cause of like everything is. Let me give a more concrete example of this. In the United States, people are like, if we were to switch immediately to like a European style of funding education, things would get so much better. I don't think that's true, because from everything that I've heard, testing all of those very free, great European universities that everybody in Europe gets to go to, and it's so awesome, blah, 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 blah. Those are fucking hard to get into. It's not like the dumbest fucking kid in every class in Germany gets to go to the best fucking university. A lot of these people just don't have the opportunity to do it. Like if you don't test well, if you don't do good in high school, you're just fucked. In terms of like gaining, I guess you can go to like a shitter school or whatever, but like, this is something that I've heard because I always have a ton of anti-American takes when I talk to European friends. But then when I talk to people that live in Europe, like I hear this a lot where it's like, oh yeah, like high school and all of this shit is incredibly fucking stressful. This is mainly from German friends and I think some Swedish friends, but I haven't talked to other people around Europe, so maybe it's different in other countries. But I hear that like high school time and everything is like very, very, very fucking stressful because you have to test really, really well. Because if you don't, you're not going to get into like a tier 1 school or whatever. I guess in Germany, is it 3 tiers or whatever? But there's like a 1, 2, and 3. That things can become like very selective very quickly. So if we were to just give free education to everybody in the United States, poor people that have shit families that aren't gonna like do very well in school are still not gonna test into these like free universities. They're not gonna make it any farther. Like it has to be something more than that. How is this different from Ivy Leagues?
You gnome.
Well, it's not that
I just
different,
don't
but
want to be a gross white name DGGL.
I guess I don't know like how fucked is it if you graduate from a tier 3 school in like Germany? Or is it tier 3? Is it tier 1, 2, 3? Am I mixing this up? Wait, okay, so hold on. So somebody tell me if you're right. I don't know how many. In the Netherlands, everyone below 18 has free after everyone pays. Below 18, everyone has free after everyone pays the rest. Can every single person in the Netherlands just like go to the uni if they want to? Is that like to any college they want? I guess necessarily they're hollandaise. I have never heard of tiered schools in Germany. Fuck, maybe I'm mixing it up, or maybe they use a different terminology then. Getting into German gymnasium is not that hard. Well, that's like everybody gets into that. Even in the United States, that's the case. It's free, publicly funded, and everything. It's DCBASSSSS. Okay. Wait,
True,
in Germany,
and
you have
that's
SS
pretty
schools.
True. That's true, and yeah, that's true.
Doesn't that seem
that's
a little
true.
sweaty?
That's true. That's
Okay, kindergarten, elementary, then you go to one of these 3 types of high schools, and then one of these 3 types of universities. Kindergarten at 2 years old? No, it's probably like year 2 of education. Maybe? Wait, right? Is it? Oh no, wait, is it? Wait, what? Is it age? Wait, do you spend like 2 years or 4 years in kindergarten? The problem is, even when everyone has free at the point of use education, those from disadvantaged backgrounds are found to achieve worse grades and have worse occupational outcomes. It isn't simply a matter of education. Yeah, Oxco. That's what I try to emphasize for people, because people just don't seem to understand. People just, and I don't blame them, but like suburban kids especially don't seem to understand that making something free at the point of use doesn't really help some people. Like, right now in the United States, if they were to make a program where anybody that has like the brain power and desire can go and get like a free 4 years in school, free PhD if you go and you sign up for it, and they made that free, absolutely fucking free, and they did it, like the most beneficial, like if like somebody like me, like, oh, I could go and run and do that, cool, and then I'm done and I have my PhD. But if you're like a poor person, if you've got a family to support, if you've got like kids or like family members that you need to support, like you don't always have the opportunities to do that. If you've got like pre-existing debt or loans or whatever, like if you're trying to pay bills on a house or something, like you don't have the opportunity to take advantage of free at the point of use, because sometimes the cost of the point of use isn't a prohibitive factor. And a lot of people have a really hard time understanding that, which is really annoying. It's insane because these conversations on free at point of use education is actually stunting real conversations on how to solve these massive attainment gaps in education and social mobility. Yeah, for sure. And it's also annoying then because when you want to have real, for instance, like when people talk about like making like education free for everyone, and it's like, dog, the amount of extra money you need to come up with that versus if we were to just like make people that could afford it pay for it, oh my God, there'd be more teachers available, better infrastructure, more school books, like better, like everything would be so much better. But like people are so ideologically bought into one thing. Do you have like ready to work high school in the US? Like you're 15 and learning to be a plumber or HVAC? No, we don't do any of that type of training. You don't have any, you have very, very little specialization exists in high school. So that's like our final 4 years of elementary school, I guess is what we call it. And then you don't really specialize until you get to like year 2 or 3 in college. Like that's when our specialization starts. Trade schools are the major thing the U.S. is lacking. It is, and it is a huge problem. There is way too huge a disparity between 4-year college degrees and people that graduate high school. This is another thing that is very, very, very You guys have trade schools, I'm sure. We do, but we don't really, I don't know how available they are. They don't talk about them much. One of the biggest drivers of wealth inequality in the United States are college degrees. And it's very irritating, especially because all of these like suburban lefty white people are preaching to their audiences on like Twitter. You hear a lot of these very weird talking about, it's like, oh, like all this student debt is crushing America. Like student debt is killing students. Like college degrees aren't worth it, blah, blah, blah. But they absolutely are. Like college degrees are so worth it that they are like destroying everybody that doesn't have one. It's absolutely unreal what the median earning difference is between having just a 4-year bachelor's and no college. It's insane. Like we're talking the difference between like $2,800 a month here versus like $4,500 a month, $4,600 a month. Like it is unbelievable how valuable a college degree is in the United States.
I'm trying to make sure I'm getting it right. When it comes to EU, they are fucked if they don't get insane grades, whereas in America, at least even with mid-tier grades, you can still get into a well-equipped school through in-state tuition at the minimum.
Maybe, I don't know how many different funding mechanisms exist for European schools. In the US, there's a ton of different like scholarships and financial aid and all sorts of like grants and shit. Like, yeah. Where are my Pell Grant boys at? I think England made uni free and found little change in student income brackets. Well, yeah, that was the one education system I'm slightly more familiar with. Initially, the UK, they tried to make all school free and it just didn't work. There were like too many people swarming the system. The quality of the education went down. It wasn't really helping poor people at all. And eventually they started to tier it more where they started to charge people money to get in, but then they made it free or subsidized for poorer people. Which seemed to be incredibly positive. It like increased like by every metric, it was more successful by doing that.
Scotland has free university paid for by foreign students stuckers. This has benefited the middle class the most and has not helped less well-off families. Scotland has the lowest percentage of people from low-income families in university.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is one of the most, there are so many conversations that the online discussion just does not meet the reality. And like one of these is over like student loans. Like if you've got your degree, man, pay it back. Like we always see that like average cost of education has increased and increased and increased, but it's not outpacing the value of those degrees. Like it is maybe more important now to get a degree in college than it ever has been. And people keep talking about how it's not worth it anymore. The loans are too high. Like the job market sucks. Like, no, it does. None of that is true. Unemployment is so unbelievably fucking low. What are you talking about? Like there are so many fucking jobs. What the fuck? Net present value of a bachelor's degree, years to recoup the cost of a bachelor degree. In terms of like how many years working would it take for you to get back the cost of your bachelor's? Like it is so important to get one. In America, do you guys have to pay back student loans immediately or only after a certain income bracket? You can defer them, but typically you have to start paying them back right away. One absolutely good thing that other countries have done, you don't even have to fucking think about it, we should just copy it without a second thought, is income-based repayment. For a lot of countries, as soon as you start working, depending on what your income is, they'll scale your payments back of your student loans based on your income. That I've never heard an argument against that. It just seems like an overwhelmingly positive thing to do. We do that. So I think in the United States, there are some like specialized loan programs that you can qualify for to opt in and do it, blah, 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 blah. But in a lot of countries, I think this is just default. Like by default, it just happens. But in the United States, it's like you have to go through a process to get that. Destiny, what effect does what the degree? Oh, I'm sure different degrees pay different amounts, of course. But like, I mean, like this is just like median earnings between all degrees. I'm sure there are some that pay more and some that pay less, of course. Wait, are millennials just shittier with paying back their student loans than Gen X? I bet it's a complicated answer. I bet there's a lot of reasons why people are having trouble paying back loans versus other things. I don't know. I could think of a few off the top of my head, but I don't know how much. One is I don't know if it's always been this way, but the obsession with moving to the coasts. Like, you're not getting compensated for how much it costs to live here. And this is why I said it in the past. People got mad at me, and I'll say it again. Move. You get the fuck out. I don't know why the fuck anybody would come to live in fucking LA, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Miami, Orlando, fucking New York. I don't know why the fuck anybody would move to these fucking cities. Go somewhere else. You are not going to get paid as much as it's going to cost you to live in one of these fucking places. Like, dude, you can get a sick ass fucking 2-bedroom apartment in fucking Omaha, Nebraska for like probably like what, $1,300 a month? That's probably on the upper end. $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month. It's going to get you a nice 2-bedroom apartment. You're not going to make 2 times as much money working as a fucking computer engineer in fucking LA as you would in fucking Omaha, Nebraska. It's not like one pays $70K a year and the other pays $140K a year, right? It's not that different. Like, Destiny, no companies in Nebraska for high skill degrees. That's not true though. You can find places to work, and I'm just using the Midwest as an example. You can find places to work in the South. Go move to fucking Austin, or go move to fucking like places like that. There's plenty of places in Texas. There's places in fucking Missouri. There's places in fucking Illinois. Like, up in Ohio, like, Jesus.
You gnome fuck!
Holy shit, just move bonus me map classes are free low.
Because they don't want to live in bumfuck middle of nowhere. Okay, that's fine though. But guess what? Like, when people complain about like, oh, boomers were able to do all of this shit where they could afford this and that and that. Yeah, well, guess where boomers fucking live, dude? Boomers weren't fucking driving around, you know, up and down the fucking 5 with their fucking Mustangs in LA, you know, living in fucking $4,000. They were living in the fucking farms of Kansas, okay? Yeah, no shit boomers could afford that fucking shit. You could probably make that much fucking selling weed and pay for places to live in these fucking shitter states, you know? Not everybody in the fucking world in the boomer time were all living in 3 fucking cities in the entire United States, you know? CS majors do benefit living in big tech cities much more than Omaha. They might do it much more than Omaha, but it's not gonna be enough to make up for the massive disparity in living costs and everything. Midwest Master Race, I bought a house at 23 on entry-level IT support. Wait, sure. Why is he pretending the cost of college hasn't drastically increased over time? I'm not pretending that. What I'm telling you is that the compensation for college has massively increased over time as well.
Anywhere besides the coasts are boring as fuck. Fuck the boring states.
Destiny, new grad software engineer at Facebook is $180,000 a year. Dog, I'm sorry to inform you this. I don't mean to crush your dreams, but not every single software engineer is graduating and getting an entry-level job at Facebook immediately. That's just not going to happen, my dude. College costs have gone up over 200% in the last 40 years. Yeah, and what has the wage compensation gone up over the last 40 years? People will look at how, this is what you guys do. You guys will look at the cost of college and you'll say, oh, it's gone up by this amount. And they're like, oh, really? Well, how much have college wages increased? And then you're like, well, here's total wage compensation for the entire economy. Let's look at that. Like, well, hold on, that's not really telling the whole story, is it? Like, I don't think construction workers are making that much more now than they did 40 years ago, but I'm willing to bet you that people that graduated 4-year degrees are probably earning quite a bit more than they were like 40 years ago. Did wages go? Well, okay, well, let's look it up. Average compensation, 4-year degree, or wait, hold on. Median earnings, bachelor's degree over time. Am I able to find these numbers? The St. Louis University thing or whatever? Or St. Louis Federal Reserve, what's it called?
Washingtonian here. I live here because it's home. Generational wealth for reference, though Portland and Seattle nearly had a Detroit-style collapse in the 70s.
What percentage? Did somebody say 40%? 30%, 20%? What were we talking about? I don't remember what the percentage was, but from 2000 to 2020, it looks like compensation for a bachelor's degree has gone up about 50%. What percentage were we looking at before? Compared to what?
Does everyone even needs a degree? In the past 10 years, basic degrees, non-CS, med, science, etc., are using Pearson that cost $200-ish for the course and $1,000 in tuition to the U. As a student, my interviewers haven't cared about my degree as much. Exp.
Yes, degrees are still massively beneficial and massively helpful. Real wages fell for workers with lower levels of educational attainment and rose for highly educated workers. I wonder what highly educated means here. That probably, do you think that just means 4 years? The college wage premium has leveled since that time, but it remains high. High wage workers as a group benefited more from the increased payoff to a college degree because they are the best educated and have the highest gains in educational attainment over 1979 and 1990 period. The wage value of a college degree relative to a high school education increased markedly over 1979 to 2000.
Bit late, but great work in Georgia.
Thanks. Education and occupation patterns appear to be important in wage trends. Worker groups studied in this report were more likely to have earned a bachelor's or advanced degree in 2019 than workers in 1979, with the gains in college degree attainment being particularly large for workers in the highest wage groups. For some low and middle wage worker groups, however, these educational gains were not sufficient to raise wages. Workers' occupational categories appear to matter as well and may help explain the failure of education alone to raise wages, which we would expect. You probably have to get a somewhat relevant degree. You can't just get like a random one.
The other thing that Zoomers who want to live in Silicon Valley don't get. A union plumber making $50 an hour in Idaho will have more house and more toys for the dollar than your apartment. Your grandparents crossed an ocean in a steamship. Move.
You gnome.
Oh, then we already saw these.
School debt is really scary when you first look at the number, and if you came out of college into a depression and couldn't find a job, that probably scared people into thinking it was a bigger cost than it really is.
School debt is really scary when you first look at the number. Yeah, sure, I guess it can be. I mean, you get a lot of time to pay it back, but yeah. Did you see the job loss reports? Like 140,000 to 150,000 jobs shut this past month were all women. Ooh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's because of the school stuff. Kids having to stay home from school means that parents have to stay home and watch them, and it's usually moms that do that, maybe? Feels like Destiny is missing the standard of living issue that millennials have. They grew up in a house that was bought by their parents when the income needed to purchase a property was significantly less than it is now. So now they want to keep the same standard for living, but do not have the same starting point their parents did. So they sit and complain until they adulthood. I don't actually know if that's true. I would be interested in going back and looking at that. The problem is that if you have to listen to your parents, like here's what happens. This is what sounds like the story. Like this is what sounds like the story. And then I'm going to give you the missing piece at the end. When I grew up, my dad worked a single job and he took care of my mom and me and my sister. He paid for a car, he paid for education, he sent us to school, he could do all these things. Now that I've grown up and I have my 4-year degree, I can't even pay for a house. It's ridiculous. That's bullshit. Like, that's what seems to be the case. The part missing from that, though, is my parents grew up and bought a house in rural Ohio, and I want a fucking high-rise in Manhattan. That's what feels like the difference, is that all these people complaining about the affordability of housing and the cost of living want to buy a fucking single-family home in the fucking Bay Area. Or they want a fucking 2-bedroom apartment in fucking downtown LA. Like, yeah, you can't afford shit. Fucking Sushia was living up in nowhere fucking Iowa, and she had like a decent, like, holy shit, this is like a 2-bedroom. This is like she was in a 2-bedroom big apartment with a roommate. And I think that their rent for that, I don't know, you can ask her. I think her rent was like $500 a month. So like, yeah, I mean like, yeah, your parents could afford whatever, but like they weren't living in the same areas that you want to live in now. Don't you think that there is a reason people are moving to the coast besides there is cooler and more popular living there? I mean, it makes more sense that these people just can't find jobs. No, you're moving to the coast because our culture is fucking cancer. Because you guys obsess over these stupid fucking dipshit notions of the American dream of going to some massive fucking city and becoming massively fucking loaded and spending your entire fucking life trying to accumulate enough money to buy enough things to make you happy because you can't find it in any of the other places besides like what fucking corporations sell you to make you feel good about yourself. That's the reason why. There is no perfect fucking reason to leave your family and friends and move to some soulless fucking American city on the coast where you can be fucking miserable commuting to and from work every single fucking day so that you can buy whatever Joe Rogan advertises to you while you're fucking popping Ambiens and trying to fall asleep to his podcast at night. I don't think there's a monumentally good reason for that. People throughout all of human history have existed without living in megaopolis fucking cities where you're crammed in like fucking sardines from wall to wall to wall to wall in these shitty apartments that you pay thousands of dollars a month for. I think we could probably still manage to do it today. I totally wholesale reject the reason that we absolutely need to live in one of the 5 largest fucking cities in the world in order to have meaning and happiness in our life. I'm not buying that, okay? Is that so wrong, though? If I want to be able to live in LA, I should be able to. It's kind of sad that those areas in this country are so inaccessible to us simply because of cost. I think that's fair. No, it's not fair. No, I'm sorry, but not everybody in the world should be able to live wherever they want to. Because you know what? It's called physics. We literally don't have the fucking space. You can't fit everybody. If everybody in the world wanted to live in LA, it doesn't work that way. You can't do it. Not everybody fits in every area. Like, we have enough space in the United States, I think we have enough space in Texas to fit every single human being in the world, like decently spread out. I think that was true. But like for some reason, every single person in the world wants to go and live in like one of 4 cities. It was like a picture where it's like what people think San Francisco looks like, and it's like a beautiful picture of the downtown and all the big buildings and everything. And then it was a second picture of like what San Francisco actually looks like. And it's like, it's this. The single family housing fucking dystopia. This part of the American dream can work, but it can't work in conjunction with everybody living in 2 areas. The American dream, for whatever fucking reason, is to own a fucking house. That's like the American dream. And that's fine. If you want to own a house, it works. But everybody can't have a house in the same fucking city.
Question. Your job would allow you to live anywhere in the world. Why do you live in LA?
I mean, I can live in LA because I can afford it.
Been a non-sub viewer / fan for about a year. Figured I would get a tier 4 sub to make up for that. Thanks for all you did during the Georgia election.
Thanks.
Keep up all the good work.
I didn't move to LA and demand that people restructure their property taxes, their income taxes, and their cost of living and their rent control to accommodate me wanting to move here. I have the money to afford to live here. Like, that's why I live here. But When I was fucking poor and cleaning carpets, you better fucking believe I wouldn't try to move to a place like LA. Or even when I was going to graduate from college. If I would have graduated from college, I probably would have moved to fucking LA. I think he meant, why did I choose LA? Oh, because it seems to be a place for like content creators and shit. But after this, it's either going to be Miami or Austin, so. I don't think people move to these cities for cultural reasons. I think it's completely the result of a snowball of economic agglomeration, creating huge opportunity for high school people. I don't agree with that, Eric. I don't think that's true. I think that there's more compensation in places like California than like Missouri for people with high skill degrees.
Carpet
for sure.
cleaning in LA is called being a porn star.
But I don't think that compensation is adequate for uprooting your entire life, moving to a whole other area, and then having the increased cost of living as well. I don't think the compensation is that high. And then also, this is just going by like personal experience as well. I don't think like the view of living in like the Midwest and everything is like you just got to get out. You go to escape. I don't know who else lived in like small towns or small cities, but like if you stayed in your state after graduating college, you're a fucking loser. Like literally, people will look down at you as being a fucking loser. And I didn't live in, and to be clear, I didn't live in like a fucking small shitter village, okay? We didn't wake up every morning and go suck the fucking cow off for our breakfast, okay? I lived in a real metropolitan area, population over 1 million, okay? The Omaha metro population is over 1 million
With
I thought it
home
was.
ownership being super expensive, there should be some kind of person that can lease somebody a place to live in these busy areas that they otherwise wouldn't have the capital to purchase, for a consistent rate monthly Pepe.
Nice. This is like a big ass fucking city.
I know that this is an edge case, but for example in the animation industry most of the good paying jobs and good studios are in the coast. Would you say it's still not worth it? Sorry if the question is dumb.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. It depends. I don't think that if every single animator across the country feels like they need to go to one area, seems like it's probably not a good thing. It's not going to work. But like, yeah, like even people like in Omaha felt like if you stayed in here, you're like a little small town nobody that just needs to fucking leave the fucking city and get the fuck out. Like, oh yeah, and this was the tweet I was thinking of. What NIMBYs want you to think San Francisco is like versus what San Francisco is actually like. True.
It's not just immediate compensation. External economies allows a small area like Silicon Valley to have hundreds of companies allowing future advancement options and a plethora of labor options. In Missouri you have a tiny fraction of that.
I think you're just wrong. You know what? I'm going to say that you're just wrong. I guarantee you that there are a ton of fucking software developers, computer engineers, data analysts, software devs, blah, 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 that all probably work in Kansas City, and they probably work just fine. I bet they have jobs in buildings. I bet they do a bunch of fucking work, and I bet that all of these people manage to pay their bills and have excess money and do just fine. I don't think that the only fucking tech jobs that exist in the entire fucking country exist on the coast. I don't think that's true. And live boring fucking lives. What the fuck kind of life are you living in fucking LA? Like, what are you guys talking about? How many software devs do you know go to move to San Francisco and then are out like fucking partying or surfing every other fucking day? What do you mean? Most of you people live miserable fucking lives. Fucking 25% of you millennial fucks are on antidepressants or SSRIs or some shit. Like, what, are you guys out here acting like you're living your best life? Like you're happy and fulfilled and you're not all like on the verge of breaking down into midlife crises because you realize that like the dream of like going to college and getting some soulless fucking corporate job and then moving to San Francisco and living in some tiny fucking corner of the world for your entire life like isn't making you happy. Like we're gonna pretend that these people that all moved to these massive cities are having like the most fun that they ever could have had any other place in their world. Like, come on, dude. Whatever they're doing, it's available in these big cities, unlike in the Midwest where half of every idea you could ever have about what to do in life is unachievable there. Well, like, what do you mean by that? I don't know if that's true. I feel like I could find probably most jobs outside of the coast. Like, what would be your advice then out of interest? You sometime in fucking high school, when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or at least when you move out again on your own, at some point you have to figure out like what in life makes you happy. Because if you don't figure that out, then the world is going to fast track you onto whatever is the most economically viable path, and that does not necessarily line up with what suits you best as a human. And nobody seems to give a fuck about that at all. Nobody seems to think about that at all. People want to maximize economic outcomes, ignoring the fact that an economic outcome and and like a personal fulfillment or personal happiness outcome don't necessarily have to align at all. There's no incentive in any market structure or in any government structure to make sure that whatever you're doing makes you the happiest possible. The only thing that society's interested in is gearing you towards being as economically productive as possible. And if you don't spend any time thinking about like what makes you happy or what you want to do, then you're just going to be railroaded down that track. Like, it's so fucking crazy to me that, like, you guys, like, all of our games suck now for RPGs because you guys want these nasty fucking stupid as fuck open world experiences where you can go do anything and go be anyone and go live whatever fucking life you want. Fucking Elder Scrolls 69, fucking GTA, blah, 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 blah. And then in the real world, you guys are railroaded on, like, the most linear fucking Phantasy Star, Final Fantasy 7 game or whatever the fuck it is, where you have, like, no choices, like, no options, and you're just, like, given the same, like, you have one class that you can scale into, and that's all you can fucking do for your whole life until you fucking die. Like, you guys treat your RPGs as more open world than your actual fucking lives. Sorry. Anyway, this is a long way to say, listen, I don't think that all of us should obsess over going to live on the coasts. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.